One of my mentors was an old man. One day, a customer of his said, Curtis is Riverside's plumber. We got in the truck that day and I told him, I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna be Riverside's plumber. I recommend to all small businesses, if you wanna make a small business, whatever your personal social media is, that's now your business.
Yeah.
My mom's water heater goes out. It was a little tricky, it wasn't a normal install, but I felt confident in doing it. And I realized like, I'm a plumber now.
What would people expect this business to make a year?
Basic self-employed plumber who's not hustling that much, let's say 35 hours a week.
Riverside's plumber, AKA John Dixon.
The way that came about was one of my mentors was an old man. He was like 69 when I started working for him. And it was the last job he was ever gonna do, and he just needed help on this job. But him and I had a good rapport, so he kept taking on new jobs and training me. And then one day, a customer of his said, Curtis is Riverside's plumber. And I liked that. It just had a nice ring to it, Riverside's plumber. So we got in the truck that day and I told him, I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna be Riverside's plumber. He said,
why is the S?
The S, because I'm like the whole city's plumber.
Oh,
Like
Riverside's like apostrophe S.
Yeah, the city owns me, like I'm the city's plumber.
You're the city's plumber.
Because Kurt had customers everywhere, politicians, lawyers, teachers, business owners I had already known. We would just show up to go to a job and it's the guy who owns the coffee shop. It's the judge, it's the police chief, all of that. Well, not necessarily the police chief, but it's police officers,
right?
So he was the whole city's plumber. So that's what I wanted to create.
But you were telling me earlier that you were interested in videos a lot. How did you get into plumbing in the first place?
I needed a job.
Okay.
I was a history student and life happened and I just needed to make some money. And it kind of worked with my school schedule being a plumber.
Right.
So I could, take this day off and go help him dig a trench that day.
Right.
And it just kind of flowed. And then I sort of fell in love with it. And
That's
I realized
cool.
I would make more as a plumber than I ever would as a student. But I still had this passion for history.
Right.
And it found a way to leak itself out into my plumbing life. And it kind of ended up merging together and created something
fascinating.
completely.
When did you start plumbing?
I started plumbing in 2019.
So in 2019, you decided to go into a plumbing business. Were you first working for someone?
I worked for two different plumbers, an old guy and a younger guy. And I was just kind of tossed between them as a laborer. I was digging trenches, lifting heavy things, organizing the truck.
Dirty work.
Exactly. That's what I was doing, snaking drains. And it was just quick money. It was just a job. I really didn't have any passion for it. And one of my mentors, when he would solder stuff, he would have his torch and he would like flip it like a bartender and do tricks with it while he was soldering. And I thought it was the cheesiest thing in the world. It was so lame to me that he was doing this. And then 2 years into it, my mom's water heater goes out. And I go to Home Depot and buy a water heater and I take it to her house and I take it down and it was a little tricky. It wasn't a normal install, but I felt confident in doing it. And I put it in there and I'm listening to music and I'm soldering something and I don't even think about it. And I flip the torch. And I realized like I'm a plumber now. I found a passion in the trade. And it's not a forgiving trade being a plumber. It's dirty. It's probably one of the dirtiest jobs people can think of is being a plumber. But there's something to it when you really get into it, and there's a community of plumbers that just help each other out because it's not as competitive as you think. There's plenty. Everybody has a toilet.
Yeah.
There's way more work than there will ever be plumbers.
Right. So
there's like a really good community of people who want to help you out and teach you and show you the way. And there's different paths you can take. And I've learned a trade that gave me confidence.
Got it. And when did you decide to go on your own and leave the plumbers that you used to work with?
It started off as me going to the union. About 4 years in, I joined the plumbers union.
Okay.
And because of my prior training, I had to start as a first-year apprentice. Mind you, I have 4 years experience, and I'm getting $23 an hour. And the companies immediately knew I had more experience than other first-year apprentices.
Right.
So they're having me look at plans and run full jobs at $23 an hour. And I was working 60 hours a week. And meanwhile, I had a small customer base. And I would work in my plumbing job and go do a side job. And I was burning myself out. And then rains were in the forecast. This was last January. I don't know if you remember the big rains from last year. Okay. And everybody got laid off. because that's how the union works. Rains are coming, no work, we'll call you back later maybe.
Oh,
So everybody got laid off. And then I got hired to be a project manager for a little small, remodel basically. And I just had to make a decision. Am I going to do my own thing or am I going to go back to the union? And I decided to do my own thing.
and this was when?
This was last January.
Okay, last January. So
So no, January of 2024.
so you completed a year on your independent plumber, like you're
Yeah.
on your own.
Yes, a year and some change now.
Got it. For those who's listening and considering a career change or considering starting a plumbing business, or perhaps looking at your journey as this is your first year of owning a business, what would people expect this business to make a year?
Basic self-employed plumber who's not hustling that much, let's say 35 hours a week, you probably make 80 grand.
Okay.
80 grand. You can probably gross 125,000.
And do you think this business is scalable? Like, can you eventually employ people and like grow it as a plumbing business?
Most definitely. It's very scalable.
And is this your plan?
As of right now, I'm just trying to get in the footwork and I enjoy keeping it small where I'm at because my customers are my friends. They're my community.
Right.
And there's this big difference between a big plumbing company and a plumbing company like me. Because on paper, we're the same company. We're licensed, bonded, insured. As far as the state of California is concerned, we have the same qualifications. But I could go bid a job for 8 grand, and a bigger plumbing company could come in and bid it at 27. And the guys who taught me were all smaller businesses. And there's kind of this understanding amongst smaller plumbers that the big guys are out there to get their money, and the small guys are out there to help their customers.
So the underdog versus the...
And they're better on paper. The big companies are better on paper. They're more appealing. They got the flashy vans. Everything's all wrapped. They got the uniforms. But a smaller, like I'm not a nameless corporation. I'm somebody you're going to see at the grocery store.
Right.
You're going to see me at a restaurant. We're going to see me at the coffee shop. I'm a person who's around.
Does your business need an office and stuff like that, or no?
I'm working out of my garage.
Got it. And so when it comes to Google My Business and stuff, how do you manage that?
I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Okay.
Because the funny thing with me is the Instagram brings me so many leads that I'm at a tipping point where I do have to scale it. Because if I was to take a next step and get more work, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I learned about you through Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was going to go deep with you on the Instagram page because you have around 16,000 followers right now. But more importantly, and it's funny how the algorithm recently is being, the algorithm is different now because you can have 15,000 followers, but one of your reels has 1 million views.
Yeah, two of them.
And then the rest of them on average, like 200, 300,000 every single reel. And this, I've been talking to a lot of people about this new era of social media. They call it the interest graph, whereby back in the days, if you have 10 followers and you post something, most likely these 10 followers will see your stuff. But then as when TikTok came on board and they're like, oh, you know what? We don't care how many followers you have. If you produce a high quality content, a fun content, something of value to the people, we don't care how many followers you have. We're going to show your content to as many people as possibly can.
Yeah.
And that shift and then all of the other social media channels has basically adopted that interest graph. And they started doing the same thing. So if you produce a good piece of content, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, you can still get millions of views. And that's what you did. But your Instagram is not necessarily plumbing. I mean, I've seen the older posts. Yes, you were posting a lot about plumbing, but nowadays you're more of a history / culture. Tell me more, like when did you get on Instagram and how the whole journey?
My Instagram is the Riverside's Plumber was my personal Instagram.
Okay.
Which I recommend to all small businesses. If you want to make a small business, whatever your personal social media is, that's now your business.
Yeah.
Because you already have 700 followers of people who care about you.
Correct.
So it's better to create, if you want a personal one, a separate for your personal, and then your original personal is your business. So that's what I did. And I originally was just taking pictures of Riverside. That was what my Instagram was, photography of Riverside. And then I started doing my own business, and a friend of mine suggested that I should be making plumbing videos, and I started making plumbing videos. And even then, the history aspect of me was trying to leak out.
Okay.
I would be doing history of plumbing. I wanted to talk about history so bad.
Right.
Plumbing was it's a means to an end. It's my job, it's my trade, but it doesn't define me. I love history. I've always had a deep love of it. And then I made a video just about smudge pots in Riverside, the old way they would prevent frost from the oranges,
That was fascinating.
and it blew up.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
not know that how they used to do to prevent frosting.
Yeah. I was at a customer's house and they had a smudge pot in the yard. I said, "What are you doing with that?" And they said, "You could have it." And I threw it in the back of my truck and went into an orange grove and made a video about it. And it blew up.
Fascinating.
And I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
So before it blew up, before you did that video, were you getting any traction on your Instagram? No.
Like maybe 2,500 views, maybe
Okay.
6,000.
And this is plumbing videos.
Yeah, this is plumbing videos.
Yeah, because I see a lot of these because I love anything related to construction. Like if you tell me what is my meditation, like if I want to relax after a long day, I'll open like just a construction work. I just love watching people build stuff.
A
Right.
lot of people like that.
Yeah, it has something to it.
I watch it too. I watch it, but it wasn't the type of content that resonated with me as a creator.
Right. And then you decided to do this video and tell me your experience when this video started to like, oh my God, did you freak out? Like what happened?
I did freak out. I freaked out at the smudge pot video. I freaked out. 40,000 views was crazy. I was getting shared by all these people. People were sending me hats. And I was a little creator. I had 750 followers at that time when that video came out. And then I just started digging deeper. What more? How can I explore Riverside and the Inland Empire more? Who could I reach out to? And I started reaching out to everyone I possibly could. People who made documentaries. Shout out to Logan at the Showcase documentary. Because he sat down with me and gave me the rundown of the history of Spanky's Cafe, a punk venue, and the Showcase Theater. And I went and made 2 separate videos on those, which is where the traction really started. Those were the videos I'm starting to get 1,000 followers each. And then I realized, like, I love music, I love history. Let's just focus on this. And I started reaching out to everyone I could. Every video I make, there's 10 other people I reached out to that said no.
Wow. Yeah. And when did the plumbing customers start to come in?
I always had a really solid customer base. And the funny thing is, it wasn't so much the random people on Instagram reaching out to me, but it was the people I was making videos for who started reaching out to me.
What do you mean?
So I make a video about the Voodoo Glow Skulls. Next thing you know, I'm the Voodoo Glow Skulls plumber. I'm working at their house, their grandma's house, all of their friends' house, things like that. The people I make videos for, the people I make videos with, ended up becoming my customers more so. And a bigger network of customers came from that. I made a video about the Riverside Art House and a mural they did. And next thing you know, when they have a plumbing issue, they call me.
Right. But nowadays, you said you get a consistent stream of leads from your Instagram.
Yes.
So what are these leads? Are these general people in Riverside, in the Inland Empire?
Yeah. Just people. Riverside's such a tight community. If somebody sees a video I make, they most likely know me or know someone who knows me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just comes from that. It's rarely like a complete stranger. It's usually a friend of a friend or somebody who's, like I said, seen me at the grocery store, sees me walking my dog. Those are the people who hit me up now.
Fascinating. So you think that if you haven't done the Instagram, will you be in a different place now?
Yes, I probably would.
Would
in a
be
different
struggling
place.
to find clients and stuff.
I had a really solid clientele when I left the union. That's why I left.
Okay.
Because I already had plenty of work. I could make a living.
Okay.
So, but now it's next level. Now it's not just being the basic plumber making $80,000 a year. Now it's a really solid business with consistent
So instead
work.
of you hiring a bunch of people and getting an office and getting the outfits and the vans and whatnot, and keeping your prices low, did you increase your prices as a result of high demand? Because that's how the market works. You high demand, you prices increase.
My prices are still lower than the big box plumbing company.
Okay.
But I do have some other price increases. I'm well insured. I have a license. I'm a legit business. So there is a price increase from that. But also I keep it really fair.
Okay.
And I make sure to bid jobs accordingly. Like,
I mean, in the end of the day, and I'm talking as a business owner and as a house owner, in the end of the day, quality, there is price to quality. I mean, there's a lot of digital marketing agencies out there or digital marketing people who do this stuff. Personally, I charge premium, I believe. And a lot of clients have told me that, like they can see. But they also told me that the quality of my work, the professionalism, the punctuality, all of these come as a benefit for working with me. And so the same goes to you and to any other trade. I mean, if you're delivering high quality service on time, with high customer service, and they call you, they can find you, and you don't disappear on people. You tell them I'm coming at 10 a.m. You come at 10 a.m. So all of this, I wouldn't mind paying extra for that.
I really believe that the plumbing industry, the big box, are greedy.
Are greedy.
Very greedy. There's no reason it should cost you $28,000 to repipe a house. There's no, for me in my business, that means I'm taking home, after everyone's paid and all my material, $23,000.
Wow.
And it's just not the business I want to run today. And if I do scale it, I'm going to keep that in mind. And there's reasons why there's guys selling their companies for $100 million. It's a huge racket.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't want to deal with it themselves. They don't, this is one area where like people love the fun DIY, right? If you have like a wood project, you put in some nails and some wood, and you create like a chair. Okay, this is a fun DIY. But if a toilet is leaking, this is not a fun DIY. So people are like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, and that's why big plumbing company take advantage of that. And then they were like, okay, here's a code.
Yeah.
And then they were like, they just want to solve the problem. It's so urgent and immediate that they don't care about the money.
When I was a kid, '08 hit us really hard. And my family basically lost everything. We went from having multiple homes to being in private school to living back at grandma's house in public school in a year. We lost everything. And it was a really bad rainy season, and our roof leaked. It leaked right above my sister's bed. So when it would rain really bad, we would just put a bucket on her bed, and she'd come bunk in my room. And we put a tarp on the roof. And one day roofers are driving by, and they knocked on the door, and they said, what's about this tarp? We could fix it for you. We could fix a leak. It'll cost this much. And my mom started crying because she couldn't afford it. And she had a leak. And the roofer said, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it. They didn't even give us a business card or nothing. They just fixed the leak and left. Seriously. And that resonates with me today. That's the kind of, that's what I want to bring to the table.
Yeah. The humanity.
Yes.
But it's so rare right now. Like everybody's now, like nobody does stuff like that. Or so it seems. Maybe people do it, but we don't know about it. Like you rarely hear stories like that. Is it that the culture changed, or what happened
like
to
I
people?
said, it's a cash grab. It's entered the plan. And I'm really lucky that I got trained by two guys who weren't about the money and who were honest. I remember the first question my dad asked me when I became a plumber. He said, was your boss honest? And I could say a lot about my first boss. But there was one thing about it, is he was honest and he was patient, and he never called me outside of my name or yelled at me, even when I messed up bad.
Right.
He was really a good guy. And same with the older guy, Curtis. Chris and Curtis were the guys who trained me. They were solid dudes who really cared about their customers and their trade. And it was it's an old timey thing, to care about your community and to provide a service as a man with integrity.
Yeah. So you were trained in the right way as well. So you have good role models, right?
Yes.
Like, 'cause sometimes people like come in, they're young, and they learn from that guy, and they adopt everything, the good and the bad.
Exactly.
So what are you optimizing for right now in your business?
What am I optimizing for? I'm really just trying to find a way to flow where I can manage big jobs and little jobs at the same time. Because I'm not willing to go past the point of owner operator right now, because I'm just so new. Scaling is a big risk. 1 out of 3 construction businesses go out of business and bankrupt in the first 5 years. I'm just trying to lock it in and make sure my trade and work is good, and just really dial that in and give people a premium experience at fair rates.
I want to ask you, and just try to guess to the best of your ability. How much money does your Instagram profile bring you?
Maybe like $1,200 a week.
In revenue, in
in
business?
Total profit take home, $1,200 a week.
$1,200 a week. So that's close to $5,000 a month.
Yes. Something like
These
that.
are only coming from your Instagram channel.
Yes.
So if someone else in similar trade or the same trade who's running a business and struggling to find clients, this is the proof that this shit works.
Yes. It is the proof that the shit works. But then again, I just got really lucky. I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to be this big music history guy. I was just talking about what I loved, and it resonated with people, and it worked out for me.
Right. And I love that you get to pursue your passion for music and history. And it's funny that your videos say, you start with a good hook. I know that you're not amateur at this. I can tell. Like you start with a good hook, and then you say, I'm Riverside's plumber. So you hinted that you're a plumber. So and the good thing about it is that you're not, ashamed from your identity at all. Like you're very proud, although you're talking about like intellectual matters like the culture and music, but you're just saying that, I am Riverside plumber. So people in their heads like, this guy is so authentic, so down to earth, that you're likable, right? So I always say that people do business with those they know, like, and trust.
I get accused of not being a plumber multiple times a week in the comments.
What do you mean?
There are people out there who do not believe I'm a plumber. There's people who think it's a shtick I'm doing for the music channel.
Seriously.
Wow. And when I first started, I used to get messages about it. And I had plumbing videos on my page.
Yeah, you had.
People like, you're not a plumber. This is a shtick. Some people think it's a shtick because it's going so good that it doesn't seem real. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just funny to me. I think it's hilarious.
Have you used any digital ads to boost this content or anything?
I did one for the Club Metro video would collab with bigger creators like What's Up Riverside. And the Club Metro one was solely me and Club Metro, which between the two of us, we had at the time maybe 8,000 followers or something like that. Maybe a little more, maybe like 18. And it wasn't a big following. But like you said, I was under the assumption that the algorithm wouldn't push it out. But then I ran $100 on the end.
Okay.
$100 on the video, 10 days of advertising, estimated 7,000 people reached, and it blew up.
Okay.
But I really don't think I needed to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, I think the algorithm is pretty good in detecting what's good. So what's next for you in terms of content? Like you made some videos about culture and music and stuff. Is there anything in the pipeline? Are you planning stuff?
Right now, I'm working with the Art LeBeau Instagram page to do a piece on Jimi Hendrix's time as an R&B artist when he was a backing musician. And I've put myself in this bubble where everything I talk about has to be related to the Inland Empire, which I'm okay with. If I want to talk about things outside of the Inland Empire, I have to tell it from an Inland Empire perspective.
Right.
So how do I talk about Jimi Hendrix from the perspective of the Inland Empire? Art LeBeau. I have to talk about Jimi Hendrix's time working for like Little Richard and Etta James and who else? The Isley Brothers, who are all artists who Art LeBeau played. Art LeBeau has probably played tracks where Jimi Hendrix recorded on before he was the rock legend we know today. So that's my niche, is I'm telling the story of the world from the Inland Empire.
And who taught you all of that? Like who taught you how to create a good video? And is it like completely natural?
Yeah, the hook thing happened by accident. I wanted it to be, somebody shared it to their story, I wanted it to fit in a 15-second story, where people would watch it and go, wow. And then I did the Penrose video and it just worked out where I had a good hook and then the music dropped and boom. And then that's what people like. That's how you get shared. And when you're shared on someone's story, it's way more powerful for the algorithm. You want to be on their story because you share it on their story and you get 10 people more watching and then 10 more stories. And that's how you get explosive growth, is you need to fit on somebody's story.
And the story only captures the first 15 seconds.
Yes. So I have to, when I make my introductions, I have to trim the fat down. I can't say too much. I just need to say enough to get the point of the video. And if I'm lucky, put a little music in it.
Do you have like a specific day of the week where you create content?
No, that's why plumbing works for me, is because I'm just so like, what am I doing today? I'll make content on a day where I get off work early and I don't feel like going to the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're busy plumbing, you have no time for videos.
Yeah. And I lucked out in there because I found a way to still get content out when I'm busy plumbing, is I just look for history videos related to Inland Empire music, like an old advertisement or a video of a concert or some surprising live footage, stuff like that. I'm still out there boosting my numbers and engaging with the algorithm without having to physically be present. Because my videos take a long time to make. They take like 20 hours.
Yeah, I can tell.
From interviewing to writing to rewrites to fact checking to finding the videos and editing, takes about 20 hours per video.
Do you edit yourself?
Yes. I've had one video edited by a friend of mine, Bryce. He edited the Penrose video for me, and that was the best $200 I ever spent.
What software do you use?
I use CapCut
CapCut.
on my Mac.
What are some mistakes as a business owner? I know it's only 1 year now that you're a business owner, but what are like if top 3 mistakes you made and the biggest lessons you had?
You have to be really diligent about doing bids, and you need to take notes of, it's really, my mistakes are very basic business 101, is you got to know where your money's going and where it's coming from. You have to really lock in on that. The bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I learned really quick that the real money is made in the books and not your trade.
Correct.
Yes.
Because no matter how much you make, if you blow them up,
Yeah.
nothing is left.
Yes, exactly.
There's a good book called Profit First. Fantastic book, because a lot of business owners, they start a business, but they have no idea that about money, right? And kind of like the same with people, with regular people, like personal finance is another thing. People don't know how to manage their money, even if they're employed or whatever. That book made me go and create 3 different accounts in the bank. One for profit, because it's profit first. So what it tells you, like if you're running a business, every single month, you should take some money, put it in your profit account, lock it out. This is your profits. Mm-hmm. And then another bank account for owner's compensation. You're a business owner, you're a business operator, owner and operator. But as an operator, you need to get compensation. You need to pay the bills and get money to live. And so you need kind of like a monthly paycheck. So you need to take that out as well. And the big one is taxes, especially if you're running a profitable business. If you don't start to, keep money for taxes, you will be surprised by the end of the year. Oh, shoot, I have this big tax bill I have to pay, and it can be painful.
Yes.
And so these 3 buckets are very important. And then the main one is for like the payments for the company and the marketing and everything else. Do you use something like that right now? Or?
I use ChatGPT.
How?
I make a general ledger of everything I spend and everything I earn.
Okay.
And I copy and paste it into ChatGPT and ask for a spreadsheet that gives me a breakdown of profitability and expenses. And it also, if I put the hours I work on a job, it'll tell me where I'm, most profitable and where I'm not, what jobs I bid too low, what jobs work for me. Yeah.
That is fascinating. This is a new use case for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I use it a lot, but not for that.
I use it for that. When my tax person told me I needed to do accounting, I wanted nothing to do with it. So I just got an app that scans my receipts so I can save everything. And then I use ChatGPT for everything else.
So no QuickBooks, nothing?
No. I tried to do QuickBooks, and I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but QuickBooks was too slow on my phone. I want to pull up my phone, do my accounting, head to the job.
Right.
I don't want to sit there on a Saturday doing it. So I get the bill from the supply house, I take a picture of it, and I go off to the job. And when I get paid, I add it to a general ledger, and ChatGPT handles everything.
What about when you want to invoice someone?
When I invoice something, I use I think it's called like Blicky or something, an invoice app. I just send them a digital copy, a PDF. And then I keep those for my records too. Everything that is on the general ledger refers to the Spark receipt or the invoice app.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah. It's a really simple breakdown. It doesn't cost me anything and keeps me going. Yeah.
Sounds interesting. What do you think of this whole AI thing?
I think it's going to shake things up. I think it's a very useful tool. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are afraid of it. I don't think there's any reason to be afraid of it.
There's no reason.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, you're speaking because you're a plumber. Good luck finding a robot that does what you do.
If AI grows the way it will, it probably will. If it grows the way it does, it probably will replace me at one point.
And that
wouldn't we want that?
Do we? I mean, if we're still living in the same capitalistic society, would we want that? We would want a robot to replace our job.
I think it's just gonna, like much how farming brought us into a feudalist era. The understanding of how we work agriculture and crop rotation and all that. When we developed those technologies, we moved into feudalism. It's basic technology.
You're a history guy.
Transitions us into new periods. And we can't even picture what it would look like right now. We don't have the mental understanding The people who realized if you move your crops in a different place didn't know they were going to bring about decades and centuries of kings and knights and wars and peasants and plebes. They didn't know any of that was happening. They were just walking through it. But it also brought us to a standard of living that raised the bar from almost all people. It kept us fed. It changed. We weren't running around nomads anymore. So when the nomads planted the seed and realized they could grow farms, they became farmers in villages. And when the villages realized they could do it on an industrial scale, they became empires and kingdoms. So it's just the next step. And our technology is moving us along. And it's just the way it is. That's my history perspective of it.
Last question. How did you get into history? Why history is so important to
My
you?
dad.
Okay.
My dad he was in Mensa. He's a certified genius. And he just always had.
What?
Yeah, he used to go on game shows for fun. Because he
For
just
real?
had this big Rolodex of trivia.
Okay.
I'm not as bright as him. I take after my mom a little bit. But I do have that really lust for history and passion for understanding. He would take us to museums and off the beaten path museums and teach us about American folklore and legends. And he told the story of why things are the way they are. It wasn't just facts. It was putting the facts together and creating a narrative. And that's how I understand history. A good video I make tells the story that makes it fleshed out and gives you a deeper understanding of the product.
Right. And do you read constantly history books? Like, how do you consume content on the matter?
My dad used to read encyclopedias, and
Right.
before the digital age, I did too. I would just open it and flip through and look at things that are interesting. And that's how I study history today. I get a little niche or an idea, and I go down a rabbit hole, and I just absorb it. For a while, I was obsessed with Riverside neon signs. I learned about how they were created and the businesses behind them and all of that. I've always had projects that I love to explore. I like California history. I'm not so much ancient histories like other history buffs. I like things that apply to me. Tell me about my world today and where I'm at. I remember when I was in 4th grade reading about the history of California, and I was just captivated by the story because I could flesh it out and I could see it. And it made sense to me.
So now, do you watch YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that?
Yes.
This is how you get your...
My algorithm is just history or plumbing videos.
Right.
And music. History, plumbing videos, and music. That's what I'm consuming. My algorithm is.
Got it. And you didn't care about like a website for your business or YouTube. I saw that you started a little bit of YouTube, but you're not interested in creating a YouTube channel.
For a while,
Email list. Have you considered that? Google My Business? No.
I have a list of people in my contacts. I have the name of my customers, and then their last name is customer. Their first, last, and then customer. And if a holiday comes, I'll go through and say, hey, happy,
Right.
Merry Christmas. I'll take a note of jobs I did and follow up with them. And I'll take notes of jobs that I bidded and didn't go through and ask them how it's working and
You follow
if they
up
want to
and
move
stuff.
through with stuff. And yeah, I chase down leads a lot,
Okay.
but it's just part of being a businessman.
Sure.
I also make sure my work's quality and they're not having issues. And if they do have an issue, I'm there on the spot to make sure it's corrected as soon as possible.
Very
So,
cool.
but as far as a website, I would love to have a website at some point, but
You don't need it
No.
at this point. Yeah.
no, it would just be money going nowhere.
And that's the thing. A lot of small business owners, they go into this rabbit hole. Oh, I need a website. And they spend so much money and time to build a website that nobody visits.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
And people go to plumbing websites and they want like a price chart of how things work. And my business is very organic right now. I feel like the town's blacksmith or something, bring me what you need and I'll tell you what we could do. It's very much a little old school and there's humanity to it,
Yeah. Cool. Did
Yeah.
I forget to ask you anything?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
You said what you wanted to say?
Yeah. I feel like this was a really good conversation.
I agree with you
This was a
totally.
good one.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.